My talk today is 38 minutes long, and I have 30 minutes to do it, so we're going to have to kind of move out. And the topic is DI is all about teaching. All about teaching. That's where it originated, that's what it's referenced to, that's what its theories derive from, teaching. And the first note is that DI is uniquely successful because all of the theory and practices derive from teaching. Now, when we first started out, we didn't have scripted presentations, we didn't have anything approximating the programs we had now. We had teaching. The first group of kids we worked with were from a really bad ghetto on the north side of Champaign-Urbana, Illinois. And we worked with them as 4-year-olds and 5-year-olds. Our goal was to accelerate their performance as much as possible. And we did that. They started out with IQs of less than 100. Most of the kids, I'll show you a little segment here, a 4-minute segment. Most of the kids had siblings, older siblings in classes for the mentally retarded, and they had a kind of a dismal future. And we took them 20 minutes a day for a couple of years and taught them math, reading, language, and at the end of that period, they had gained 24 points in IQ on the Stanford Binet, had terminal IQs of 121, and they were smart kids. But you be the judge of that. Note that the curriculum you're going to see was, this was filmed in August, and they hadn't been in school since late May or what. So according to the theories of summer loss of knowledge, their heads should have been totally drained. But of course they forgot nothing, because that ain't the way learning works. If you really learn it so it's part of you, it's part of you and it stays part of you. And I think you'll see that these kids had their knowledge as part of them. But look at what they learned. This is not a curriculum that was ever designed for schools. It was designed to show what we could teach, how many trials it took to teach it, what kind of teaching was required, and what could they learn if we assumed not that they can't learn it or that's too abstract for them, but just, here we go. You can do it, we can teach it, you can learn it. And so let's take a look at 4 minutes of, this is near the end of the session. Go. Whoops, go back. Oh, thank you.
Okay, here we go. Here, I'll let you make up a little fraction story. You go into a store and you say, I want to buy a pie. And the guy said, that's right, because 1/4 pie costs 5 cents. 1/4 pie costs 5 cents. How do I know? 4 P equals 5. Go.
Turn it upside down by 4. What are you doing? Wait, what's 5 at 4?
4 over 1.
5 over 1.
5 over 1. Go.
Count by 4. 1 times 4.
4.
Count by 1. 4. 2 what is
4.
Count by 5. Count by
20 is right. 20
Count
over 1.
by 1.
20 over 1 equals 20. Right? 20 over 1 equals 20. So our answer is, if 1/4 pie costs 5 cents, the whole pie costs 20 cents.
No!
What's wrong?
$20. You put $20. Wow! You got to pay that much for a pie.
Is that better? Is that better? Would you rather, do you think 20 cents is right instead of $20? That sounds right to me. Okay.
What about it? Hey, Justin's coming up.
What did you want to do before? What was it you wanted to do?
Flashing.
Well, we were factoring. Okay. Goodbye. Goodbye.
What's the matter?
What's the matter? That's the matter. Threes is right. What number can you count by to get to all of these? Three. So I just multiply this by 3. There I changed it. Divide by 3 where? Here?
Yeah. Divide by 3.
So this equals 3 times the quantity.
2. A plus 3.
3. B plus 1. C.
3 times the quantity. 2
One more?
3.
One more? Okay, getting me. Here we go. 40 A plus 90 B plus 20. I didn't even get them all down yet. Plus 30 D. That's a D. Can you read it? 10 is right. So I multiply by 10. I've changed it.
Divide by 3. Divide by 2. Divide by 2.
So it equals 10 times the quantity.
3.
3D plus
4. A plus 9. D plus 2. C.
Very
3 times the quantity. 3D plus 4A plus 9D plus 2C. And 2C.
2C is right. Very good. Very good.
Yeah, pretty impressive. Well, they knew this stuff. It was part of them, and you could see it was part of them. And they attended to little details. Was it meaningful? Oh yeah, you put a dollar sign up there instead of a cent sign, and you pay that much for a pie? Man, no, but it was significant to them. It was part of them. So we had to go from there to developing instructional programs. And that was a big step. It was a big step because we had to reference everything to teaching. We couldn't just do programs. Now we're programmers. No. We had to keep it where we knew it belonged, next to teaching. So from the beginning, here, let's do the next slide here. See how I do that? That's pretty good. Well, I better not do it too much. We'll skip it. From the beginning in the 60s, the DI development process has been the same. Okay, next slide. Blank paper. Enter the co-authors. Co-authors, if you're here, could you run down to the front the fast way? Need to introduce you. Do it now. So, they've probably never been in one group before. But when we work together. And typically, I'm at the machine and I do the typing. The machine originally was a Smith Corona upright. It changed later into some form of keyboard. And then the co-author and I, we'd go back and forth on things. We would not do things like big outlines or try to anticipate what all we're going to teach. We understood that what we teach has a structure. and that if we start somewhere, and if we have the right rules for developing the program, the structure will reveal itself. Like we'll say, whoa, no, we have to teach this before we can teach that. I'll go over some of the rules a little bit the fast way in a moment. But the co-authors then give feedback, and then we write this stuff, and when we both agree that, yeah, that's pretty much what we want, then we move on to the next phase where they work independently. And I've heard in various tones of voice and for various reasons that every hour that we work together, they have to work at least 4 hours on their own to get the material prepared for the field testing. So let me do it the fast way. Bob Dixon, Mr. Spelling, raise your hand. Okay. Karen Davis, Reasoning and Writing Horizons. Phyllis Haddock, Comp, Corrective Comp. Tina Wells, Spelling and the Transition Program in Math. Bernie Kelly, raise your hand. You can do it. Math and Math. Susie Hanner, Comp and Reasoning, or the Horizon. Yeah. And Reading Mastery. Yeah, Reading Mastery. Susie was with us. She was a co-author, I think, before her 20th birthday. That's true. Linda Carnine, Corrective Reading. Dan Johnston, DICE, Direct Instruction, Teaching English. Jerry Silver, jump up, Jerry. Reasoning and Writing, Math, DICE, and I hear that he paints fences on the weekend.
Expressive writing.
Huh? Expressive. Yeah. Don Steely, Math Modules. Owen Engelmann, Math and DICE. Doug and Writing. Horizon. Sorry. I'll get it right. Here, let me do it again. Doug Carnine, Arithmetic. Bonnie Grossen, Reasoning and Writing. Upper left. Raise a hand. Okay. And so there they are. And how important are they to DI? This is probably a little exaggeration, but not much. That if it weren't for them, I would still be finishing up the first program we ever did. No, because there's so much detail, so many things that have to be attended to, like what we've taught, what the vocabulary is, how many times it's appeared, and charts. Jerry has a chart there, just one of the charts from one program. And here, spread that thing out. Take a look at that thing. And it has lines and lines of stuff. And that's just one of the charts for one of the programs. So it's an enormous job, and they do a hell of a job, and I'm really very grateful to all of them. And in addition to that, they're good guys. Thank you. Thank you, co-authors. Okay, so the routine we have, do we have that? Yeah. Are we on the right one with the co-authors? Okay, good. So we work together, then they work apart. And there was no systematic preparation. Did we consult with experts? Hell no. There ain't no experts out there. Like, we have kids. Those kids in the film, they're the experts. They'll show you what the hell they can learn and what they can't learn. So no, we figured that our teaching will reveal everything we have to know about what we have to teach. And the structure of the program will reveal itself. And what we'll end up with, if we follow certain rules, is a program that is sort of good, but not perfect. And we will have to we'll have to do more to it to make it perfect. But when we're creating the program, we follow 4 guidelines, basically. Nothing is mastered in fewer than 3 consecutive lessons. Nothing. That means if you think, well, this is dead simple, great. Put it in for at least 3 consecutive lessons and it will work. That doesn't mean that the kids can't sort of grasp it and hang on to it after 1 lesson. It means we don't want them to grasp it and hang on to it. We want it to become part of them. And for it to become part of them, it has to be in there for 3 consecutive lessons. And then it has to be applied systematically so they see why they've learned it and they have ample opportunity to learn it. Next, every detail of an operation must be taught. Like you can't just slough over, oh, well, I'll get that part. Or, yo, kids learn that all the time. No, nothing. Everything must be made explicit. Everything must be taught. And the third one is that we teach the broadest set of applications first, and then we work down to the gritty. It's like creating a skeleton. If you do it right, you put the skeleton up there and you have the framework on which you can paste other parts and details. Then you can do the details as you go along, and you can just keep building on this structure until finally, ta-tam, there it is, the anatomical man or person or whatever form. Okay, and the last one is, and we did a couple of programs where we deviated from this rule and regretted it greatly. Use hot series where possible. What are hot series? A hot series is a series of tasks that has really good fast juxtaposition. So when you go through the series, you get to see the pattern because you're responding at a really high rate. And well, let's do an example. What the heck? We got time. We're only 17 minutes and 45 seconds into the presentation, so we have time. Okay. Example, good. Here would be a broad example of what we wanted to teach. 7% of the seeds were ripe. There were 280 seeds. How many seeds were ripe? Okay, it's sort of an easy problem type, but would we start, and we could do it with fractions. Instead of 7%, we could say 3/8 of the seeds were ripe, and we can change the numbers, and we can even change the information about what we're giving information about, whether we're giving information about the seeds or the ripe seeds. But, so to figure out, like, to start there would be sloppy. We would not have a good juxtaposition of examples. We would not be able to do a hot series. There's just too much crap there. So we have to simplify it. And how do we simplify it? Well, we look at what would the kids write if they were to write 7% of the seeds were ripe. Well, they would write 7/100 times S equals R. Okay, so we could start, if we were to do a hot series before we ever thought of looking at this thing, just preparing for it, backing up. Our starting point could be problems of the form like 3/5 of S equals R. Say the equation, 3/5 times S equals R. Okay, your turn. 3/5 of S is R. Say the equation.
3/5 times S equals R.
Good. 2/3 of J is T. Say the equation.
2/3 times J equals T.
Come on, is that your best response? You can do better than that. Backing up to 2/3. 2/3 of J is T. Say the equation.
2/3 times J equals C.
Yes, 7/8 of M is 8. Say the equation.
7/8 times M equals 8.
Great. 9/10 of C is B. Say the equation.
9/10 times C equals B.
Great. And we could do others, but see, the juxtaposition is good. So you're going to get that relationship. You're going to learn it fast. And then down the line, next frame, we could do other variations, but we would use what we've already learned. Okay, here's 3/7 of the cars were new. We're going to need initials for car or letters for cars and new, but you can do it. You can do it. Listen, 3/5 of the cars were new. Say the equation.
3/7 times C.
C equals M. Yeah, once more.
3/7 times C equals M.
You got it. And then for this problem, there were 90 cars, so you got to cross out 90, write C, and now you're set to solve it. But wait a minute, this one's a little tough to solve because you have C and something times on that same side. Oh man, that's kind of tough. So to solve it, you'd have to multiply by the reciprocal. Well, here, wait a second. Let's back up one step. We can do a little simpler version of this 3/7 times C equals N, and that would be a sentence like 1/4 pi costs 5 cents. 1/4 pi costs 5 cents. Say the equation.
1/4 pi times 5 cents.
Whoa, 1/4 times P equals, yeah, again?
1/4 times P equals 5.
And then we could apply the rule about the equation and the rule. Oh, the kids on the film said that one. Well, how do you do it? You turn 3/7 upside down and multiply, okay? And they said it kind of fast, so you might not have heard it. And then they said, what you do to one side of the equation, have to do to the other side, so you have to multiply the other side by 3/7, and then you solve it. So if they could learn it, I guess we could teach this to 4th or 5th graders. What do you think, right? Yep, I think it can be done. So the next frame is just another rule when you're developing programs. If you find yourself having to teach 2 things at the same time, and this is really, it's important, it's a real simple rule, but for anything, if you're teaching something to your class, it's a good rule to follow. If you find you're trying to teach 2 things at the same time, change the order. So if you started with an equation and you say, well, first you gotta put this number down, and then you have to do the initials, and then you have to, whoa, you're teaching way too much at one time. So break it down. If you're doing 2 things at the same time, change the order of things that are taught, so you're teaching only 1 thing at a time, and you're teaching it well. And so you're teaching smaller blocks, and then you're putting them together so they make larger blocks. But here now, what happened? I have loose paper here. I'm really great with loose paper, by the way. I won an award with loose paper. I lost the award, unfortunately. Okay, field testing. That all these rules that we've talked about, they're just rules of thumb for designing a program that's going to be pretty good. I mean, it'll follow rules it has to follow. But will we have identified everything we need to teach? Probably not. Will we have provided enough teaching for everything? Probably not. Have we overtaught some things that we don't need to teach as much? Probably. Because all we're doing is ballpark numbers. So we have to relate it back to teaching. And when we go back to teaching, we have to field test the material. And the goal is not to prove that the program produced a high score on some what we call damn standardized test. We don't give a rat's whatever about standardized tests. We're interested in the program that we have developed, and we want to know in detail what kids do in response to every exercise, every example in that program, so that we need to stage a field test that documents the teaching results of every exercise in the program. And we have to set that up. We have to do that in a timely fashion. And ideally, we'll do it while we're still working on the program. So if they're on lesson 20 and they have a problem in the field, we need to know about it now because we can fix it. We can send them a fix right now. If we know, that's the main purpose of the field tryout is to identify things that are not taught adequately. Now, this is totally counterintuitive, and it totally goes against one's personality because one has a big investment in doing it this way and one is pretty smart, so one wants to think that this product is really pretty damn good. And one does not want to be insulted and find out that these kids insulted me by making mistakes on it. No. You don't want that attitude at all. You want the attitude that it's all information. It's information about the most important thing we have, which is teaching. And that information shows us whether or not we have to change something. So the main purpose is to identify things that are not taught adequately, because those are the ones we can change. If it comes down to whatever it is, it's easy to change. We got all the rules for teaching it. All we need to do is know, well, you need more practice in this. And the ultimate result is a revision of the program. And we always revise it before it's ever published. And that's the purpose of the field tryout, to relate it back to teaching. And sometimes the things you have to change you would never anticipate. Like, I think I gave an example last year about rounding, and the kids could do things like this. The numbers 50 to 60. Say the numbers that are closer to 50. 51, 52, 53, 54. Say the numbers that are closer to 60. 56, 57, 58, 59. Great, good job. But here's what they couldn't do. Listen, 57. Is that closer to 50 or 60? Huh? No kidding, couldn't do it, couldn't believe it. When we saw it in the field test, we couldn't believe it. Because it's such a small step, you'd assume, of course they can do it. And so what was the fix? The fix was this, listen, 50 to 60. Say the numbers that are closer to 50, 51, 52, 53, 54. Did you say 57? No. So is 57 closer to 50 or closer to 60? Ta-da! Done. The smile is on the Mona Lisa with one brush stroke. Here we go. But it was such a simple fix, but you wouldn't even know it was necessary unless you had a field tryout. And there are many things that are a heck of a lot more obvious than that, because we see that parts of what we've done, although we liked them a lot when we did them, we hate them a lot after we see the field tryout, because we're going to have to change them extensively. But that's the game. That's what it's for. And that's why you do field tryouts. So that brings us to the final frame here, which is, because of its orientation, there's great fear of DI in the field, and it's manifested in What Works Clearinghouse, which tries very hard to divest DI of its research base by saying studies that are over 25 years old are unacceptable. What other field would do that? Can you imagine them doing that in chemistry or even in medicine or anything? No. only in education, and only for one reason, because we're the only group with significant research that goes back more than 25 years. But there's a lot of that going on. And people know that DI works, and there's a stark contrast between Teach Your Child to Read in 100 Easy Lessons and Reading Mastery. Teach Your Child to Read in 100 Easy Lessons on Amazon.com has 666 positive reviews. 666. That's more than all the other programs put together. It's always listed #1 in some kind of family activity. Over 500,000 copies have been sold with absolutely no advertising. In other words, they know it works too. Parents know it works. Yet Reading Mastery achieves only about 2% of the market. It is not popular, despite its research base. So something is radically wrong with this picture. And the last frame, there we have it. All I need to do is find my copy of it. Real reform will not occur until the field recognizes a simple fact that sound instructional programs, strategies, and theories derived from a single source, reliable information about teaching. I didn't hear you at all. Reliable information about teaching. Yes. And hopefully that's what this conference is all about, and you'll have a hell of a conference. Thank you very much.